The correct answer is true. Reprimands were found to reinforce Julie's behavior because when her father did not provide a reprimand, she no longer engaged in the interrupting behavior. Now that we have discussed 3 general rules, let's discuss 4 major child-rearing errors to avoid making. The first error is failing to reward good behavior. It is important to reward as much good behavior as you can, especially if it is a new good behavior. Remember that behaviors that are rewarded frequently will happen often. If you want to see a good behavior happen again, you must reward it. The second error to avoid is accidentally correcting good behavior. For instance, if a young girl points out to her mom that she put her toy away, instead of rewarding her good behavior, her mom reprimands her by saying, "It's about time you cleaned up," with a statement that the child is probably not likely to pick up her toys again, as if the parent were to say, "Good job, I really appreciate your help, honey." The third error to avoid is accidentally rewarding bad behavior. This is what we might refer to as giving in. If your child is doing the bad behavior to get his or her way, do not reward that behavior. For example, if you tell your child to turn off the TV and get ready for bed, and he begins to whine and argue with you, do not allow him to continue to watch TV. Do not give in and reward this bad behavior. The fourth error is failing to correct bad behavior. If your child does a bad or dangerous behavior that should result in correction or punishment, make sure that you use correction. For example, if fighting over the TV usually results in a timeout for your 2 boys and you catch them in a fight, do not just walk away as if you didn't see it. Make sure you use the correction procedure you have decided on. If you fail to correct bad behaviors, you run the risk of those behaviors continuing to happen or even getting worse over time. Here's an example of failing to reward good behavior.
Mom, look, I got straight A's.
That's nice. Tell me about it later. I'm really busy right now.
As you just saw in the video, the mom was reading a book, and when her daughter came in to tell her about her great grades, the mom did not reward her for doing well. What do you think might happen to this daughter's behavior in the future? You're right, she probably won't go up to her mom and talk to her about her grades. Here's an example of rewarding bad behavior.
Look at me! Justine, push me.
I'll get back.
Justine, look at me!
Guys, no! Stop that! Don't run away!
Justine, come play with me. Look at me.
Good job. Who is it?
Here. You can have play. You can wear a hat.
Sammy, that's gonna mess up my hair.
Who is it?
Here.
Scott.
You can have a
Who
horse.
is it? It is Scott. Good job.
I'm busy.
Who is it?
Sammy, no
Who is it?
hitting.
Sophia.
Put that down. We're all done
Who
with
is it?
those. We can't play anymore.
And what's that? Stephanie, look at me. I got to put that. Do you want to ride with me?
No.
With me.
No. You need to play nicely with your toys.
As you saw in the videos, the individuals were not providing rewards for engaging in appropriate behaviors. Rather, they were rewarding bad behavior in the form of reprimands. It is important to always reward good behaviors and not accidentally reward bad behavior. To review what we have gone over thus far today, changing the environment can result in changes in behavior. Reward good behavior, do not accidentally reward bad behavior, and correct some bad behavior. It may be more difficult to reward good behavior than correct bad behavior, but is just as important because it goes a long way for you to change your child's behavior. For the remainder of this module, we will talk about additional behavior management strategies that you can use as parents. The first strategy that we will talk about is arranging a positive environment. This is sometimes called environmental enrichment. A child's behavior is a product of their environment, and creating a positive environment will encourage positive behaviors. To do this, a good starting place is to try and make your home a place where your children want to be. Make your home fun and rewarding. Make sure to provide plenty of play activities for your children to engage in. A child with something to do is more likely to be well behaved. Have activities available during unstructured parts of the day to help keep your child busy and entertained. Take time to engage in your child with these activities. Your children love your attention, so providing lots of attention while playing a game or doing an activity will help them to make that activity much more fun. Your children might be more willing to do that activity if you are able to do it with them, even if you only play with them for a few minutes to get them started. Another way to support positive behaviors is to plan regular outings with your family. These can be big events, such as trips to the zoo, or it could be small, such as a trip to the park or to get ice cream. Planning regular outings will give your children something exciting to look forward to, and will help your house stay fun and a novel place as well. If you're home all the time, it will likely get boring, but leaving the house periodically will help to prevent this. Children love simple activities, such as visiting a local fire station or attending story time at the local library. In addition to arranging a positive environment, it is extremely important to be organized. Create an organized and consistent daily routine for your family. During the school week, have your children wake up at the same time every day, eat breakfast at the same time, take showers, have dinner, etc. at the same time every day. Also, have a consistent routine for the weekends, although perhaps a little bit more loose and relaxed. A predictable routine is a good routine. If your child is able to predict his schedule, he is more likely to be well behaved because he knows exactly what he needs to do and when he needs to do it. If your schedule changes frequently and unexpectedly, your child may not know what behaviors you want to see, and he may end up engaging in the wrong ones. Having a structured routine allows you to plan around your child's needs for rest and meals accordingly. If you know when your child needs a nap between 1 and 3 p.m., you would not organize an outing during this time because your child would likely be tired and be more likely to misbehave. When you're planning out your daily schedule, try your best to minimize unstructured time. Unstructured time is time where your child does not have a specific activity to do and is allowed to do their own thing. Large amounts of unstructured time may result in increases in problem behavior. Children with nothing to do will eventually find something to do, but you may not like what they come up with. When unstructured time cannot be avoided, and this cannot always be avoided, try to have some backup activities planned. Have some special games, toys, art activities, or other things that you can bring out for your children to play with. The next thing that we will talk about is providing choices. Allowing your child to make their own choices may reduce the problem behavior because it gives them some control over their environment. So what do I mean by choices? You can make anything into a choice even if it really isn't a choice at all. You can allow your child to choose which reward they want to earn for engaging in certain behaviors. You can give them a choice between different activities. For instance, do you want to go to the beach or to the park? You can even provide them with choices when it comes to chores. For example, if you have a list of 4 chores that your child needs to complete by the end of the weekend, allow them to choose the order in which they complete these chores. Or you can offer your child a choice of which chore she wants to do. Would you rather pick up the Legos or the puzzles? Or a choice of when to do them. Do you want to clean up now or after dinner? In these last few examples, there really wasn't a choice. Your child did need to complete the chore, but you allowed your child to choose which chore and when to do it. Even though it sounds simple, allowing choices like these can make a huge impact on how your child behaves. I worked with a young girl once who would argue to no end if I told her to do something, but whenever I gave her a choice, even though there really was no choice, she would complete her activities with little to no problem behavior. For example, if I told her to complete her math worksheet and then her English worksheet, she would argue with me about why she shouldn't have to do it and would refuse to complete her work. But when I offered her a choice, you need to complete both of these, which would you like to do first? She would complete both with no problem behavior. Offering her a choice helped to reduce the amount of problem behavior. Also, I noticed that she would do a better job at the activity or the chore when she was given a choice. This next topic is a very important one. Always provide clear instructions and expectations when you're telling your child what to do or how to behave. Giving clear instructions will help you to communicate exactly what you want your child to do and will help them to understand exactly what they need to do. When giving instructions, remember to tell your child what you want them to do, not what you don't want them not to do. For example, if your child is rolling around on the floor at the grocery store, don't tell them to stop rolling around on the floor. Instead, tell them to stand up and come here. This lets your child know what you want. If you just say don't or stop, all you are doing is informing your child of what you want them not to do. This gives them the opportunity to guess what to do instead, and oftentimes your child might make a wrong guess. When you give an instruction, make sure to phrase it in the form of a statement or a command, and not as a question or a suggestion. For example, if you want your child to pick up their toys, say, "Please pick up your train tracks and place them in the bin." Do not say, "Can you pick up those trains?" If you ask your child in the form of a question, an appropriate response would be to say, "No, I don't want to." But if you tell your child to do it, the only appropriate response is to pick up their train tracks. When setting expectations with your child, be sure to state the consequences for meeting and not meeting them. Also, be sure to keep the consequences clear, fair, and reasonable. For example, if you are taking your child on a trip to the mall, before going, you might want to set some expectations with them and let them know how you would like them to behave. You might tell them, "While we are at the mall, I need you to stay close to me so that I can see you at all times. If you want to go look at something, let me know and we can go look together." You have just stated your expectation. Now you need to state the consequences. You might tell them, "If you stay with me the whole time we are at the mall, we can go for ice cream on the way home. If you don't stay with me, we will have to leave and go straight home without stopping for ice cream." In this example, you told your child what you expect them to do and what will happen if they do it, and what will happen if they don't. Also, you kept the consequences fair and reasonable. You did not offer a trip to Disney or simply staying in sight or a lousy quarter as a reward. After you state your expectations and the consequences, have your child repeat them back to you to make sure that they understand. I understand that this may not always be possible, as some children may be too young or may not have the verbal skills necessary. Whenever possible, however, this step could be very important. Asking your child, "Do you understand?" may not be enough, and they might just say yes when they really mean no, or they might think that they understand when they really don't. Having your child restate the expectation will allow you to ensure that they truly understand. For example, ask your child, "What do I expect for you to do while we are at the mall, and what will happen if you stay with me and if you don't?" Remember to ignore any junk behaviors your child might do when you are setting expectations or having them restate your expectations. If your child puts up a fuss and begins to complain, just ignore these behaviors and restate your original comment or question. You may have to do this up to 2 or 3 times, but eventually your child will comply. There is no need to get caught up in a silly argument when you can just avoid it by ignoring these inconsequential behaviors. Ignoring junk behaviors also refers to only providing consequences for the behaviors you stated in your expectations. For instance, in the example for the trip to the mall, and with the child staying in sight of the mom, if the child remains in sight but is constantly jumping around and being disruptive, the mom should ignore these behaviors as they are likely for attention. However, they need to reward the behavior of the child staying within sight, and the child should so receive the consequence of earning ice cream. Finally, be sure to deliver consequences consistent with your initial instructions and expectations. If you tell your child that they will get ice cream for behaving in the mall and they behave, be sure to give them ice cream. Similarly, if they do not behave in the mall, they should not receive the ice cream. On this note, do not state consequences that you cannot do or do not want to follow through with. Instead, only state consequences that you are reasonably sure that you are able to provide. This will help you stay consistent with your child, which will in turn help your child to behave more appropriately. Now for a quick active parent responding question.